I put on a collared shirt for this for the first time in like 2 weeks. So you are welcome, camera. You are so freaking welcome. I just put new batteries in it. They look good. The batteries. Thank you, cameraman. There's nobody behind there. I'm telling you, no, believe me, I know it looks good, but there's nobody there. I've been wanting to tell this story as like a stand-up joke, but I haven't really been able to figure out how to do it, so I'm just going to tell you this story. This is the story of the time I accidentally went on a date with a 32-year-old woman and had no idea. She was a friend of a friend. We met at a gathering, and we're there, and the date's going well, right? We're talking about our mutual love for musicals, which to me means like this is a good date. We're talking about Hamilton. We're talking about Dear Evan Hansen. High School Musical comes up. And she goes, and this is where it started to become an issue. And she was like, yeah, when High School Musical came out in college, I was so embarrassed that I liked it. And I was like, did you just say college? High School Musical came out when I was in 5th grade. Hey, I was in the target demographic for High School Musical. I wasn't embarrassed at all. Those studio execs were like, this guy, we need to make this 5th grader in suburban Indianapolis. That's our target. Bob Iger was thinking about me. Was that Bob Iger at that point? I don't think so. Who was the guy before Bob Iger? Eisner. Eisner was thinking about me. I was exactly the type of person that was like, I do need to get my head in the game. 5th grade is tough. No girl answered my Valentine. Middle school sounds tough. I gotta bop, bop, bop all the way to the top. I wasn't up in here trying to be like, yeah, High School Musical is stupid. I was like all in it. I was like, we're all in this. I was like holding hands with my classmates walking down the hallway, all in this. And I did some quick mental math, right? And I was like, okay, if you're in college when High School Musical came out, and I was in 5th grade, you were roughly 8 to 12 years older than me. But then she went a step further and she was like, yeah, I think it was my sophomore year roommate. We used to sing that together. So I was like, zeroed it in, and I was like, you are 9 years older than me. And now I feel like I've got a piece of information that I have to divulge, right? I feel guilty because I've got this really critical piece of information that only I know and she does not know. But before I had the guts to say it, right? Because it was hard. It was a hard thing to know. This is going to kill the date. Because again, it was going well. Because let me tell you, I am a gentleman. Okay. You wish you could date me, every other 32-year-old woman out there. I was showing her such a good time. I was like asking her questions like, so what are your thoughts on that? Oh my gosh, it was going so well. But first, before I found that opportunity, one of my favorite parts of this story happened where actually we started talking about movies. We're in LA. We're going on a date in LA. Of course, we're going to talk about movies. I bring up Good Will Hunting because it's my favorite film. And if you know one thing about me from all of my social media, you know I love cranberry juice. But if you know 2 things about me, you know I love Good Will Hunting. And she was like, oh, I've actually never seen Good Will Hunting. And I'm like, how have you never seen Good Will Hunting? You know, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. It launched Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's careers. I mean, the production history is so fun. No studio wanted it. When Robin Williams got his hand on that script, he said, I want to help you make this movie as long as I get to be the therapist. And I knew the bartender. He was right there. This guy named Johnny. I don't like frequent this bar a ton. I've been there a couple times, and he's actually a regular at the coffee shop I work at. And Johnny's like a good name, right? Like, hey, Johnny. It's like we're in a sitcom. Hey, Johnny, come over. I gotta ask. He's like, I'm always ready to help. I'm Johnny. Can you believe she's never seen Good Will Hunting? And he's like, what? You've never seen Good Will Hunting? But then he goes, but how old are you? Thinking clearly that she is of a young enough age that would excuse her for not seeing Good Will Hunting. And if you do not know, Good Will Hunting came out in 1996. I was 1 year old. I was a year old, and I'm like, I know, because at her age, she should totally have seen Good Will Hunting, because it is clearly a movie that she was actually alive at a viewing age to see. And even Johnny agreed. And she was like, well, I'm 32. And he goes, oh, okay, actually, yeah, you totally should have seen it. That's when I knew I had done all the math right. I was Sherlock at this moment. She had tipped her hat. I don't have no idea how that is a phrase. Am I even using that phrase correctly? She tipped her hat. She should have tipped her hand. That's the phrase. It's not tipped your hat. Tipping your hat is like, how do you do? She tipped her hand, and she had tipped it earlier with the High School Musical. This is full on folding. I need to rein it back in. If we move on, there's quite the lull in the conversation, and I'm like, this is my moment. I need to spill the beans. This is clearly, I've had this on my chest for long enough now. I need her to know that I am 9 years her younger. Clearly not the age she thought I was on this date. And apparently not even the age Johnny thought. Bless your heart, Johnny. I was like, hey, I don't know how old you think I am. And I'm sorry if this changes anything about the date. But I'm actually only 23 at the time. And she goes, "What? You're a baby. How did this happen? How am I in this situation?" It's like those parts of your life where you go, what did I do to place myself in this situation? Well, long story short, the rest of the date's still pretty enjoyable, but let me tell you, we are no longer seeing each other. And I'm pretty sure she doesn't follow me on Instagram, so that's why I'm posting this. Let me know if you enjoyed the story. Let me know if you enjoyed the story. Hoping to do more of these. This is fun. Mwah. Mwah. Mwah.